guys, I'm SJ and this is my baby Evelina. She is now 5.5 months old and she is 100% breastfed just on one breast. So it is possible to fully breastfeed just using one side, so it's called single-sided feeding. There's loads of reasons why you might want to give it a go, so I'll just chat to you about why I do it, how I've done it successfully, and little tips for how to do it, just to help you to breastfeed a bit longer if that's what you want to do. So Evelina is my third baby. I also single-sided breastfed my second baby, who's called Finn, and he was breastfed just on my left side for 10 months. I've always found that the babies preferred one side, so Evelina and Finn both liked feeding off my left side. My oldest son Freddie was bottle fed, and I'll chat to you about what happened with him. But yeah, they both seem to prefer naturally the left hand side. They latched a lot easier, mainly because what happened with my right nipple was with my first son, I tried to breastfeed him. We just couldn't get it working. We had so many issues and my right nipple was basically really badly damaged from that experience. It is, I know, talking about my nipples, but it just meant that it was really hard for them to latch on. Also, sometimes the way the baby's been lying in the womb means that they're more naturally find it easier to lie on one side. So Evelina was lying transverse across me in the womb, so she had a bit of tension trying to move her head the way that she needed to latch onto the right hand side. So what I did is basically just followed her lead and went towards her preference a little bit. It made breastfeeding so much easier, especially the night feed, just without having to battle to latch her every single time. And there's been no negative effects, has there? No, you're a big chunky monkey. The other thing that I had was a massive oversupply of breast milk. This has been my issue every single baby that I've had and led to most of the issues that I had breastfeeding Freddie the first time. So it's got nothing to do with the size of your boobs. I was really embarrassed because I got big boobs anyway and I thought this is humiliating. I've got so much milk now. And it's just to do with how active your milk glands are. You can have this issue if you've got small breasts, large breasts. It makes no difference whatsoever. But it does make breastfeeding on both sides really hard, and breastfeeding in general really hard. I've done a whole vlog about how to cope, which I'm so happy has reached loads of mums with the same issue. I will link it below. So it just means that she was basically only getting the fore milk, which is the very light, watery side of the milk, and then as the feed goes on they get to that hind milk, that creamy feed. You wanted a bit of milk, aren't you, soon? Yeah. And that's got problems for them, so that can make them quite gassy, quite windy, it can make their poos quite frothy and just leave them feeling just not full up. You can be breastfeeding all the time, and that could be why. There's just no rules for it, you know, we get told breastfeed off both sides, 25 minutes per side, and you're trying to do that desperately. Sometimes you're just not following your baby's lead, and it's okay to just rip up the textbook and ignore the advice, you know. Each one of your babies is unique and you're unique and your body's changed for each baby, so it's never going to be one size fits all, and we shouldn't imagine that breastfeeding is, because it's not, is it? Not in my experience. So with the oversupply, one of the ways of reducing the milk is to single side feed. It's called block feeding. So I basically feed her off the left side all day, and then I would give her one feed on the right just before bedtime when she was a bit hungrier. The milk just naturally reduces. I didn't have major problems with engorgement. It is something you've got to watch out for. So maybe just reduce the feeds on the sides that you're cutting down on to maybe 1 feed a day, 2 feeds a day, and just gradually wind it down. But this side now produces no milk at all, absolutely none. And this side just picks up that need by itself. It does mean you might have slightly lopsided breasts for a while, but I did this for 10 months with my second baby, and when I stopped breastfeeding they just went back to normal, so it's not going to leave you anything permanent and it's not ridiculously noticeable. Are you tired, little miss? Just had a nap? So the other reason you might want a single side breastfeed can be one of these issues that comes from the baby not draining the breast properly for whatever reason. Maybe the baby's got tongue tie, a poor latch, is preferring one side than the other, and that can be leading to things like engorgement and mastitis. If you've had mastitis, you will know it is a total pain in the tits. There's nothing worse, and the advice is to feed through it. If you're getting recurrent mastitis on one side, you might want to give it a break and just breastfeed off the other side for a while, just to express the milk from that side. So another good reason to go to one side. It might even extend your breastfeeding just by another week or to, but if that's what you need to kind of get used to the idea, to get your bottles in or whatever it is, just with breastfeeding, for me, I always just take it one day at a time, one feed at a time when I'm struggling, because it's just too much of a commitment to say I'm going to breastfeed for a year and then one bad feed you feel you're underachieving something that you've only put yourself under pressure to do. So yeah, just do what feels right for you and your baby, and single-sided breastfeeding can be a great way of carrying on if you are suffering from recurrent mastitis. I've had it so many times. The only problem is then, of course, if you're single-sided breastfeeding like I am, and then I got a kind of mastitis on the only side I was breastfeeding on, that was really tough. I've breastfed through it. It was quite painful, had antibiotics, and I've managed it. I wasn't gonna kill myself over it. I know that fed is best. My first baby is bottle fed, as I said, and the bond, that whole thing about the bond is just total bullshit. Sorry for my language, but it is. Breastfeeding has got nothing to do with bonding with your baby. You are going to bond with your baby whether you bottle feed or breastfeed. Breastfeeding is simply easier. It is good for them in terms of the nutrients. So do it if you want to, but please, please, please don't kill yourself over it. It's just not worth it. So yeah, single-sided feeding has really, really worked for us. It meant that my breastfeeding was established probably by around 6 weeks rather than 4 months that it took me to establish trying to breastfeed off both sides. So yeah, if you are interested in single-sided feeding for the reasons I've said above, just go for it. There is zero rule book when it comes to you and your baby. This baby's never been alive before and is never fed off your boobs before, so who's to say it's going to suddenly feed 25 minutes on each side and really enjoy itself and then go off for a nap. In my experience, it just doesn't happen. If you are interested in single-sided feeding, ask me any questions below. I'm always here to answer anything. And check out another vlog by my vlogger friend Ash at Mama Read Right. She's also talked about single-sided feeding in her latest breastfeeding vlog, so it's not just me doing it, it is quite a common thing. I hope you found this video useful. I hope you take some of the advice on board if you do think single-sided feeding is for you for any of these reasons, and we will see you all in our next video. Say bye bye.